In today's episode, we are going to talk about how to set up a safety plan with someone who struggles with suicide or suicide ideation. This is such a crucial step in keeping people safe. So please stick around and learn all about it. Welcome to the Suicide Prevention Lady podcast, where we make intervention easy. I am Dr. Ricky Turner. I am a suicide intervention expert. But please take note, I am the thinky kind of doctor. I am not the medical kind of doctor. So please do not take any of this advice in the podcast as medical advice. I'm super excited about doing this episode because when people come to me or when I meet people at trainings and events, a lot of times they express to me, I just don't know how to help them. How do I keep them safe? And a lot of what I talk about is being there for them, listening without judgment, and doing what I like to think of as decent human being things. But, we all get paralyzed by fear sometimes. And, especially if you're not confident in what you're doing, when it relates to suicide and you're afraid of making it worse and things of that nature, sometimes we just get paralyzed by that. So I spend a lot of time on giving easy, tangible things that you can do every day that help those who are struggling with this. But this is a super exciting one because this is what therapists do and psychiatrists do. They sit down and they do a safety plan, but there's nothing stopping you from doing it yourself, because most of you guys probably already know this, but a lot of the reason I do what I do is because in the healthcare system in America, you don't immediately get in to see somebody. If you're starting to have the serious depressies, you can't always get right in. In fact, most of the time you can't get right in. So we have this time that we need to keep the person safe, and having a safety plan, chef's kiss. So let's get into a safety plan. All right. Now, there are different variations on a safety plan. Okay. Different things go into it depending on who you talk to. But in general, it's a 6-step process. Okay. Now, it's important that we start from a place of, number one, we're not judgmental. We start from a place of love and safety, right? It's best to do this plan before either person is actually really considering suicide. Okay. So we want to start in a better place than when we're in super dark mode. And the reason we don't always think clearly when we're in a super dark mode, and it's really hard to have hope, and it's really hard to, see through it and be honest with ourselves when we're in that place. So start it at as high of a place as you can, emotionally. All right. So the first step in the 6-step process is we got to know what we're working with. All right. So we're going to, number one, start with warning signs. Now, when you're doing this process, get a pen and paper out, get your computer out. You're going to want to write this stuff down. All right. Have a record of it in an email or whatever, doesn't matter. But first, we're going to brain dump. What are the warning signs? How will you know that I'm not doing well? Okay. So I'm going to kind of walk through this as if I am the person that we need a safety plan for. All right. You're going to know I'm not doing well because I'm not going to talk. I'm just going to be almost catatonic, where it's just like, I don't want to be interacting with people. I'm not going to go, you're not going to hear from me. Those are some warning signs for me. I'm a direct person, so I may say, hey, I don't feel too good. Kind of looking for an exit strategy. I might be direct about it. Those are some warning signs for me. It may be that there's something that you do every day, and when you stop doing that one thing every day, that's a warning sign. It's different for each person. Losing interest in things that you love, big warning sign. Being a recluse, big warning sign. Maybe your warning sign is that you will be super social and overcompensate for it. You might eat a lot. You might not eat at all. If I'm not eating, we are worried, guys. I like food, right? Um, there's lots of different things that it could be, but like you have to know yourself well enough, and the person that you're working with to put this together needs to know you fairly well too, because they may be able to point some things out to you that you wouldn't have thought of. And so you want to be in a good headspace to be able to identify these things, like, this is when you're going to know something's wrong. All right, so that was step one. List your particular warning signs. How will we know you need help? How will you know that you need help? Okay. Number two, there's internal coping strategies. We want to list out things that, okay, I've noticed that I haven't brushed my teeth in 5 days. I'm throwing something out there, and that's a pretty typical one that carries a lot of shame, but I haven't brushed my teeth, and don't really want to do things, and I can feel myself slipping. Okay. So now I need to have a list of things that I know help me personally. These are things I know I can do these on my own to start to pull myself out of it. Okay. Now, again, I told you guys I'm going to be very vulnerable and share my stuff with you, like what would work for me. I forget when I am getting into like a depressive episode, I forget that I really enjoy music, and certain music will bring me out of a bad mood. Um, it's not like that for everybody. I don't want to say that that's the fix all for anybody. That typically works for me. And so if I will play some ratchet music, I have a couple of playlists on Spotify, and just let myself dance or move my body in a way that's going to be super helpful. For some people, that is going on a walk and getting out in the sunshine, like forcing yourself to get up out of the bed and do something. For some people, it's a shower. For some people, it's writing, like just brain dumping and writing, free writing, whatever, journaling. There's so many different things. Like I may not be able to list them all. I know I won't be able to list them all, but whatever works for you, like what's something that you know is going to bring you to a better place. Some people like raise your vibration. What is that for you? And you need to list that out, because when we notice, uh-oh, I'm slipping, sometimes we can bring ourselves out of it, and we don't have to have a third party get involved. All right. So we've done the warning signs. We know, okay, this is how I can help myself right now. Have I eaten today? Have I drank water? Have I gone and moved my body? Have I read something that's uplifting? Have I listened to good music? Like, what is it? Step three is knowing who to contact to help distract you from what's going on. So we're not quite to getting emergency help yet. We're just, okay, I can't do this by myself. I'm going to need some help in distracting me from what's going on. So who is somebody that you can call and be like, hey, can we go to Costco? Can we go see a movie? Can we go play pickleball? Can we, whatever, do something that gives you that human connection with somebody else, kind of remind you about the good in the world, or remind you of things that you enjoy, stuff like that, right? We're pulling in extra resources here, but it's not quite bad enough that we need like medical intervention necessarily, or emergency intervention. Where are some safe places for you? Do you like coffee shops, libraries, the mall, the club? Where is that for you? And maybe like have a list of, kind of like a rank ordered list or something, like, okay, well, depending on what time it is or what's going on, can't go to the water park in the winter, stuff like that. And you want to have a few options of what works for you. And public service announcement, if you have a rage room near you, just go ahead and put that on the list, because going and breaking shit, it's awesome. But in step three, we're just looking to distract ourselves from any suicidal thoughts or feelings that are going on. Like you're not thinking you're going to act on it, but it just keeps coming up. So we want to distract away from that. Okay. So we got warning signs. We've got our own coping strategies. We've got, okay, here's who I can go to or what I can do to distract myself. Step 4 is we need to have a list of family or friends that may be able to help you. This list, these are your safe people. Okay. If you don't have a good relationship with your parents, parents don't go on the list. If you don't have a good relationship with your pastor or your sibling or whoever, they don't go on the list. These are people who you feel comfortable knowing your business and that they're going to come to your aid and be helpful. All right. Spouse, best friend, boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever, sibling, pastor, teacher, counselor, whoever these people are, we need to have a list, and we need to have not only just who that is, like who they are, we need how to contact them, and we need options because not everybody is available at all times. We need to know who can come and be like, okay, we got to do some soul searching here. What's going on? How can we help you? How can we keep you safe? All right. So we know the warning signs. Y'all notice I'm repeating this a lot. I really wanted to go to dig in. We know our warning signs. We know how we're going to know or how other people are going to know that we're struggling. We know the internal coping strategies that we have. What can we do to help ourselves? We have social contacts that can help distract us from how we're feeling. And now we have a list of family members that if all that doesn't work, okay, we've got people we can contact. All right. Step 5 is professionals or agencies to contact for help. Does talking to somebody on a hotline help you? Great. We need to make sure that you have that readily available. FYI, it's 988. That's the National Suicide Prevention Hotline now. You can text it, you can call it. Just remember it, 988. All right. But do you have a mental health professional in your life? Do you have a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a counselor or social worker, somebody that you can reach out to help get you through this moment? There's hotlines available. Okay. In this scenario, we're listing, okay, where can you take me? If I am hell bent on this and I'm not letting it go, here's the places I feel comfortable with you taking me. Here's the ones I do not feel comfortable with you taking me. Maybe you have been to an ER before and you had a terrible experience. Well, we certainly don't want to go there, do we? If calling the police is an absolute no for you, express that in this safety plan. Not everybody feels safe with the police, and that's okay. But we need to know what is okay to do, what is not. And then step 6 is making the environment safe. And people skip this step a lot of times, and it's really important. So, trigger warning, I am going to talk about methods of suicide currently. So let's pretend that I am a person who wants to end my life, and I am likely to do that by taking a lot of pills. So a way to make this safe is, number one, you talk about, okay, here's the means that I have readily available. If it gets to this point, here's what we need to do. Having somebody lock up your prescriptions that you don't take every day. Having somebody say, okay, I know we're getting to a dark place. I'm going to give you the exact amount that you need to take if you're on prescription medicine for other things, so that you don't have access to take a whole bunch at once. If there's a firearm, do you have a firearm at home? Okay. Where is it? Is it locked up? If we get to this point, I'm going to need to take that to keep you safe. If you feel comfortable doing so. We need to brainstorm, okay, if we're here and we're trying to keep you safe and we're not in some sort of care situation that keeps you away from these things, we need to have an agreed upon solution of how to mitigate the risk here. firearms, you can take the firearm, you can take the bullets, you can lock them in different places or whatever. You can, if the person has a plan of using a car, then, maybe you take that, or you take their keys and you give them a ride until we know that we can get them the medical intervention that they need, to keep them safe. But means mitigation, that's what that's called, is making the environment safe, and you're trying to keep them from their preferred means of exit strategy. That's a huge strategy in itself. Like a national suicide prevention strategy is limiting means, because you'd be surprised, a few extra seconds, a few extra minutes of having to make those decisions to go get that or go through the trouble of finding a way around it. If you have means mitigation in place, that resistance, that friction that people experience is enough sometimes to get them to second think it, give them a pause. It slows the impulsivity down and saves lives. So that is a huge piece of this. Now, one thing I want to talk about when it comes to safety plans is, in each one of these steps, we need to identify barriers to these. So I know, like, when I'm in a good place, I can tell you all these things. I could tell you, yeah, we'll do this and I'll call this person and whatever. When I get into the dark place, I don't think that through. I don't know necessarily if I would do those things, or I know myself enough to know, okay, am I really going to reach out for help? Am I really going to reach out for a distraction? I don't know. I don't want to be a burden on somebody else. This is for me to deal with. It's not for them to deal with. And I'll get in that dialogue in my head. So it's important with each one of these steps to let's write down and identify, okay, here's why I might not do this. And then let's navigate around that. One of my favorite navigations around those type of barriers is pick your safe person and have a code word with them. It was the previous episode if you want to know more about code words. But having that, because it is so hard to ask for help, especially when we're low and we're having a hard time with this. It's hard to ask for help, but even depressed, I can say Dolly won't go. I sure can. I'll say that over and over again. Sometimes it's even hard to think about asking for help. Okay. If we know that a shower would make us feel better, but we're in this place, this really dark place. Okay. Have you ever heard of a whore's bath? That's what we call it in the country. I don't know why. It's probably offensive, actually, now that I think about it. But it's also called a camping shower, essentially. But get you a rag and just wash the pits, slits, and tits. That's what we always said too. So get the bare minimum down. There's a wonderful woman on TikTok who shares struggle care stuff, and she has disposable pre toothpaste, preloaded toothbrushes, essentially. And you just, you don't have to get to a sink or anything. You just, the little wisp things from Crest or Colgate, anything like that. Like, what are some ways to make it easier on you? Did you know that you don't have to shower standing up? Fun fact, you can do it sitting down. What makes it easier for you to do that? If you have a Amazon smart device, mine is hiding behind this computer and I really don't want to ruffle her feathers, but you can set your alarm in the mornings to specific music. So if I know I'm going to bed in a funk, I can set it to play a specific song or a specific type of music in the morning. And sometimes that's enough to get your day started off right. But learning how to navigate around the barriers and brainstorming with somebody is super important. So to recap, if you are somebody or you know somebody who struggles with suicidal ideation or has had attempts in the past and you want to keep them safe, you need to make a safety plan with them. We need to do this at a time when they're doing pretty well. We need to identify the warning signs. That's step 1. We need to identify our own internal coping strategies. That's step 2. We need to have a list of social contacts, people in our circle that can distract us when we are feeling a certain way. So that's the 3rd step. The 4th is identifying family members or friends who can offer help when it's getting dark, who can step in and be helpful in a more direct way. Step 5 is identifying agencies or professionals to contact in order to help with this as well. If you're, your doctor, your psychiatrist, your counselor, and a hotline, maybe it's a pastor or somebody like that, identifying those people who are professionally there to help you, super helpful. And then step 6, how do you make the environment safe? If we get to that point and we are really trying to mitigate the risk here, we've got to get the things that are tempting to use out of the way, or at least put a lot of restriction in order to keep the person from being impulsive and going down that road. All right. Listen, that's a lot to unpack. And I'm so glad that you stuck it out with me. Please save or bookmark this episode so you can refer back to it if you ever need to set up a safety plan with somebody. It's one thing to listen to a podcast about what it takes to do it. It's a whole other thing when it comes time to actually do it. So maybe you listen to the episode together, or you make some notes and you do this on your own. You can also Google at any point components of a suicide safety plan. You'll get different variations, but they're essentially going to be this list. If this is super helpful for you, I'd love it if you shared this with somebody who you think could help. Or if you yourself need a safety plan, send this episode to somebody. And if you're receiving this from somebody, hey, set up a safety plan with each other. It's the right thing to do. All the cool kids are doing it. If you are looking for a mental health conscious keynote speaker who always comes at a keynote speech with mental health in mind, at least in the periphery, reach out via email and let me know, and maybe we can make something work. My email address is Rikki, RIKKI, @stilyourise.com. I do corporate events, I do college trainings, and anything in between. I promise it'll be fun and engaging experience for sure. People are always telling me, didn't expect to laugh so much. Well, suicide is pretty dark and depressing. I don't need to make it any worse. So in next week's episode, we are going to talk about passive suicide prevention, which is super fun, and I have a lot of stories to share with that. The passive suicide prevention is probably music to a lot of people's ears. Those of you who are want to be a part of the solution but are not near as direct as me, this is your episode. This is your time to shine. All right. So tune in next week so we can continue to learn how to intervene with ease.